You've been working hard all day and your feet are just getting really cold, have a brand of boot that has 400 grams of insulation. Something you can always try to do is change your socks. Okay, what about layers for your feet? I really like just having multiple layers for your feet, but making sure that they're not too tight. So to me, having like a kind of a thicker layer with a thinner layer helps with blisters, but it also helps with heat retention a little bit. And then making sure that your shoes aren't too tight or your boots aren't too tight and that your layers aren't too tight. If you have 2 layers and it makes it too tight in your boot, take one off because your foot will be warmer. They also make toe warmers that are like this, and you can shake them up and like stick them to the bottom of your sock, and they do work. I've used them quite a bit. They can bunch up, or they can tend to bunch up, which can make your feet a little bit uncomfortable, and then in the winter it's really kind of cumbersome to get in there and get them out. But if you use them and kind of figure out how to use them, they can work pretty well. And so if you're going to use them, a lot of people will stick them to the bottom because I think that's how it's shown in the picture. I prefer to stick them to the top of my sock so that they don't tend to bunch up under my toes. I have more luck with them stuck to the top. Now, if your boot doesn't allow that, you know, it can be kind of a deal, but a lot of times snow boots have a little bit of room over the toes or around your toes. And so that's what I prefer to do. So for me, having like a loose, kind of thick, fluffy layer sock with one of those on top and a roomy, you know, fairly roomy, warm boot is really important. When you're talking about boots or snow boots, you want to look for a snow boot that has like 400 grams of insulation. Most snow boots out there on the market have 200. And you know, when you get up in the high mountain regions or you're snowshoeing and your boots are covered in snow all the time, it can be really cold. And so I have learned that having boots with that 400 grams of insulation really makes a difference. Many other boots only have like 200 or 100. So just be aware of that if you're planning on going out in really cold weather. A couple of other tips for keeping your feet warm in the winter. Number 1, if you're going to wear hiking boots, wear a hiking boot that is Gore-Tex lined. Something that doesn't have a lot of breathability. Again, just like rain pants and a raincoat will trap heat into your feet. But make sure that they're not too tight and make sure you don't lace them too tight. And then if you're sitting around and you've been working hard all day and your feet are just getting really cold, something you can always try to do is change your socks. If you bring an extra warm pair of socks and your feet are just getting cold, it could be because your socks are kind of wet and they're trying to dry out. And so especially if you're going to take a longer break or if you're going to be spending the night, you always want to make sure that you have extra socks, something that's warm, because your socks will trap a lot of moisture. And when your socks trap moisture, it's going to make your feet cold. So if your feet are just really cold and you can't figure out why, change your socks. Put on a dry, warm pair of socks, and it's more likely to help keep your feet warmer than the socks that you've been wearing all day.